This one truly is the gold standard. I mean... Hello everybody, it's the Warhipster here, coming at you with another Sprue review, army set, box, look inside, unboxing, spectacular phenomenon, all that kind of... We still haven't landed on a good title for these. I mean, they are called the Sprue review. I should just say that. We're coming at you with another Sprue review for the Kroot Hunting Pack, otherwise known as the T'au army set. It's a little confusing. Yes, here it is, the Kroot Hunting Pack box. Oh boy. Yes, Games Workshop have been very kind and have sent me the Kroot Hunting Pack T'au army set. And, well, I've been reading this cover to cover. And 10th edition is finally here. I've obviously had the book in my hands for a week or two now. And, well, it's pretty good. This is one of those circumstances where I can look in a book and I can see where people are going to be really upset based on little information that they actually have. But when you read the book, you do finally understand that T'au are an A++++++ faction now. We don't normally go into the books around here, but I feel like just briefly touching on it for this video is important. Because whilst the changes to crisis suits will have enraged many people because of cyclic ion blasters, the changes are actually really good. See, Games Workshop have talked about this simplified, not simple, mantra for Warhammer 40,000 10th edition. And do you mind? They've talked about it, and until now I've not really seen it. I've kind of seen some things that have changed and have thought, it doesn't really simplify things, it's just kind of dumbing it down. But with this book, it starts to make sense. There's 4 detachments in the book and they are all pretty good. 2 are absolutely spectacular. And that's something we haven't seen from the codexes so far. And the other 2, well, one's the index one, and it's okay. And the other one is the Kroot Hunting Pack, which is pretty good. I'm sure you will have already consumed a lot of rules content, so I'm not going to go into it too much here. But for those of you who've been around since 8th edition, if you remember the 120 Plague Bearers list that didn't really kill very much, but definitely outlasted your opponent and just swarmed the board and controlled everything, well, it's back. Except it's technically not back because this is a Kroot Carnivores based list. But that in and of itself is a fantastic thing. You see, it's a different way of playing the T'au. You know, for as long as I've really been conscious of how they've been played in the competitive metas, more often than not they've been a kind of either a jump, shoot, jump, stay away at all cost and annihilate your enemy type thing, or castle up and stay away and annihilate your enemy at all costs type thing. But here we have the Montcar, the Kauyon, the Retaliation Cadre, and the Kroot Hunting Pack, and they all offer a completely different way of playing what is, I think, people's sort of guilty pleasure or their most favourite faction. And that is just brilliant to me. So far, the codexes haven't done that. I feel like mostly, and do correct me if I'm completely wrong, I'm sure somebody will, but the codexes so far haven't brought a lot to the factions, at least as I've felt it when I've been reading them. I've looked at them and thought, oh, okay, I mean, probably not going to choose most of this. I mean, Tyranids, for example, there's probably 2 in there that are really good. Necrons, it's 1 or 2. Space Marines, at the moment only really 1 or 2 are doing very well. They've not been feeling like they've dramatically changed or introduced much to completely upset the way the faction is played. But this one, I think it absolutely does. For those of you who've got large crisis suits armies or lots of battle suits and things like that, you've got a way to play. For those of you who have lots and lots of fire warriors and stuff like that, there's a way to play with them. And of course, for the first time ever, you can play a full Kroot army and actually have a benefit to doing that, which is fantastic. It's absolutely wonderful. And yes, I get it. Some stuff is frustrating when it gets changed like this. Trust me, I'm a Blood Angels man. Death Company. Why? I'll never forgive you, Games Workshop, for removing the bolt gun and chainsword option or 15-man units of Death Company. I'll never forgive you. Ever. So yes, I'm no stranger to frustrating changes, but I think this one actually is for the good for the crisis suits. They've also been pointed very low. They've also gained a lot of really cool abilities, and whilst the loadouts might not be what you perhaps used to, double fusion with Farsight in the Retaliation Cadre, or the Montcar or Cowion, whichever one it is, the new one, Montcar, I think it is. I've now got confused. I've lost confidence. Time to move on. I genuinely believe the T'au Empire Codex is the meta. It's going to shoot right to the top, and T'au Empire fans should be extremely happy about that. But that's not only the highlight of this box. The other highlight is, of course, the many models that you get inside the box. And these are as close to Age of Sigmar as we've seen. And you know me, I'm a Sigmar guy. I love painting, I love pretty models. And the Kroot definitely are that, which is wonderful. So with all that in mind, we're going to have a look at everything like we usually do in the Sprue review videos, and I'll stop banging on about the books before somebody gets really mad at me. And I'm really sorry if you are mad at me in this first 10 minutes. I get it, I understand your frustrations, but at the same time, just wait till you get this book in your hands and you'll suddenly feel all of those frustrations melt away, because you are now an S tier. I'm going to upgrade it from A+++++. You are now an S tier faction for sure. There is no question in my mind at how good this is. So not only is the book fantastic, the models are fantastic, and the box is pretty cool itself. This right here, gold standard of Warhammer 40,000 10th edition, and I hope this continues for the next 2.5 or however long we've got left in the edition. I think 40k is back, baby. Oh, and I almost forgot. Please do like the video, subscribe, leave a comment below. Try to keep your rage to a minimum. I would appreciate that. But if you're really upset, vent away. It's all good. This is a safe space. You can do that. So let's take a look inside the T'au Empire army set, otherwise known as the Kroot Hunting Pack. Alright then, let's get this show on the road. T'au Empire army set, the Kroot Hunting Pack. Here it is. So, flipping it over. What do we get inside the box? Well, alien auxiliaries. We also get the T'au Empire Codex. We get the data sheet cards and the assembly guide. Good. Glad that's not in here. That would be a shame. We also have 26 Citadel miniatures. So we have the Kroot War Shaper, the Kroot Flesh Shaper, Krootox Rider, 3 Krootox Rampagers, and 20 Kroot Carnivores. As you can see, there they all are arrayed before you. Here is the War Shaper. Here is the Flesh Shaper. Here is 10 Carnivores. Here is another 10 Carnivores, the Rampagers, and the Krootox Rider itself as well. So, let's get this box out, shall we? So I'm just going to pop it like that just for a second and just slide it out. So what do we have? I think this is the back of the box. Oh, there is some classic artwork right there. There's the ethereal, and the battle suits descend upon the Kroot to tell them, you work for us now. Oh no, they already do. We've got the missive here just there. Really lovely piece of old artwork, that one. That one's in ancient codexes from times gone by. If we have a look at the other side, oh, there we go. We get full colour artwork. That's what you like to see, isn't it? That's the best thing. Ooh, I like it. So far, it's winning over the Dark Angels one. So, just going to open this one up. We should have another tray inside. Here we go. A tray full of plastic goodies and wonderfulness to behold. Okay, so let me just straighten things up here a little bit. There we go. Lovely. So, what do we have first? Well, that, to me, looks like a Kroot Rider Sprue. Yep, almost definitely. Kroot Rider Sprue. We then have one of the shapers. That is probably the flesh shaper. Oh, got a bit of a bent sprue here. It looks, you see how it's a little bit bent. Maybe it's just the way it's been packed. Hope none of the components are too affected by that, but we shall find out. So there's our flesh shaper sprue. We then have our war shaper sprue. Ooh, again, another. Oh, that's quite the bend in the sprue. That is quite a significant. Look at that. Again, I hope none of the components are too affected, although the spear here looks like it is. We'll have to see if that straightens out once it's clipped out. That's a bit of a shame. Might have already chosen our loadout right here. If indeed there are options. We then have 2 sprues here, which look to be the Kroot Carnivores, and it looks to be an identical set. Yep. So that would lead me to believe that when these come out on general release, they'll be in a box of 10 rather than a box of 20, which is interesting. So there you go, 2 identical sprues. Yeah, they're definitely identical sprues. Just there, like so. They look cool though. And then, just on the one sprue actually, with the Rampagers. That's impressive. I thought this would be like a 1, 2, and then a 3, so like a Rampager per sprue, but no, we just have it there on the 2 sprues. That's really interesting, given how detailed and dynamic those models are. And they look to be pretty big in the context of the Kroot, but oh well, I guess we'll find out how big they are when we build them. Then we have, unfortunately, a blank insert. It's not a full color one. Again, I do miss this. I miss the kind of like the full artwork insert card things, because it just means, well, it's not a free poster basically. Games Workshop, bring back free posters. And now, ooh, what do we have here? We have a box by the looks of things. Yes, we have a box. All right. Oh, we'll look at that in just a second. Inside here we have our bag of many bases. Probably something like 20 32 mils and then many, or 22 32 mils and then many large 60 mils by the looks of things. Do we have anything in here? No, we do not. So that must mean this is really sexy. This is really sexy. Hold on now, Games Workshop. What are you doing? This is premium, man. Look at this. So we've got our little... That's what they normally put on like codexes and things. Oh, that's so pretty. That is very, very nice. So there's our cards, data cards. And they look massive for some reason. Should we have a look at one? Oh. That's very cool. Let's just pull one of these out. The Tidewall gun rig. What a great choice. We've got shiny blue sides to these cards. I don't know how well that's being picked up on the camera. There you go, you see that? Just there. That's very cool as a back for these. And then we have the Tidewall gun rig. So if anybody wants to know what the Tidewall gun rig does, there you go. Screenshot now. It actually looks pretty horrible. A Supremacy Railgun, devastating wounds, twin link, 72-inch range, one shot, 5+, strength 20, AP -5, D6 +6. And presumably there's probably ways to make it even better. Well, that's a horrible gun. Anyway, that's very, very nice as a kind of experience. I feel treated. You see what I mean? I feel like I'm looking at a premium army set, like a special edition. This is very, very cool, because that's just like an additional benefit to this, right? Because now you get this lovely little kind of wallet for your cards there, but also you get this lovely carry case for your book and your cards and your assembly guide, should you wish to take that with you. That feels like a meaty assembly guide. Yep, that is very big. And then, of course, in here, concluding things, we have the Codex. There we go. So we've got more of that blue shininess on the front there. Got the little kind of unit marking down here on the bottom left, and we've got more up here just on the top, like that. Let's see if we got what we got on the back. Oh yes, we got the same thing on the back. And again, more of that awesome artwork. We've got this kind of marking here, and then I'm pretty certain that says T'au Empire for the greater good. And there we go. That's a very, very cool book. That looks very nice. I like it a lot. Again, I like these not having titles on them. I just like it, just, you know, I mean, you have it on the side there so you can grab it from your bookshelf, but I like the front just being all artwork all the time with that little bit of extra. No shiny pages, unfortunately. That's a shame. I like shiny pages. I like it when it's gold, for example. These could have been blue as well, but there we go. Well, that's quite a significant amount of very cool stuff inside this box. I really like this box, by the way. I'm a big fan of that, because now, like I said, I've just got this really cool little T'au wallet for when I go to attend events, for example. I can just put my cards, my book, and I can shove my lists in there as well. And then we can just do that back up. Doesn't go into landfill. That's great. Or recycling, which, you know, you should recycle all of your cardboard. And then we can just do that up. It's probably got enough space for a tablet in there, if that's what you prefer. That's really nice. I like that a lot. I really like that. Like I said, we've got this really thick instruction manual. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, good lord, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 pages worth of instructions. We have 20 28 millimeter bases, two 32 millimeter bases. I can't speak now, I'm so blown away by this, and 4 50mm bases. There you go, that's the base sizes. We do have our little diagram in here, which is very nice to see. I always like that. And we got our kind of indexing of the sprues, which one is which then corresponds with the letter with which you are going to be building your miniature. So, well, what we're going to do is we will be right back in just a minute. I need to zoom in and things like that, and we're going to have a little look at, starting at the beginning, the Kroot Warshaper. And that's the first miniature there. So we'll be back in just a moment. So kicking things off then, we're going to be working at the Kroot Warshaper. This is the first model in the instruction manual. And as you can see, he gets an entire page because there's a lot of different options here. We have war gear options for days. We have the arrows here. We have the Kroot pistol or whatever that is instead there. So you got the options there depending on which version of it you're going to build. We have the bow here, and we have the kind of, I guess, grappling hook or whatever that is. We have the large thing, a mabob, a big combat weapon there. I don't know any of the names. And then we have the little kind of, you know, throwing star, Triskel, I think is what that's called. There as options. We've got two different kind of shoulders as well, I think, dependent on which one of your weapon loadouts you go for. So plenty of different options here. We've got two different heads as well, shouting or mouth closed, which is cool. I like that. So in order to build the Kroot Warshaper, we require two different things. Well, we require our tools, of course, but we require one 32mm base, and we require this sprue. Now mine, as I mentioned, is all bent. as you can see. So I'm hoping this doesn't, like I said, affect the components too much. I'm probably going to go for the bow anyway, but as you can see here, just there like that, this is now on a skew. So I don't know if that's going to be fixed by clipping it out. So just watch out. Yours might be bent. It might be because of the way it's packed, or it might just be because of the way mine was packed. I hope that is not the case, but do just watch out for that. Just trying to kind of bend it flat again, but that's not going to work. So you can see very much how it's all kind of, it shouldn't have that much flex when it's flat on the desk. Anyway, looking at said sprue then, so just give ourselves a little bit of a focusing there. We have a ton of different components. So there's our main body. We've got our two heads just here and here. We have our bow here. We have the combat weapon there, the kind of grappling hook with the weapon on the end, and we have the Triskel type thing just here. Got the two shoulders just there and there. Got a bit of fur and stuff, and various little accompaniments here and there. All over here, there's lots and lots and lots of different details to look at here on this particular sprue. But in terms of the quality of how it's laid out, I'm actually really impressed. You see the body here, we have a connection point on the underside of this foot. I'm assuming that's the underside of the foot, and we don't have another bit of foot to apply. Oh yeah, no, it goes in here, so the feet are actually here and here. So that means it'd be nice and easy to apply to the tactical rock, which is great. Love to see that. We then also have a connection point just on the top of the shoulder, which is fine because that will be covered up with both of these. Well, one of those, but take your pick. And then we have another connection point just in there in the inside of the leg. So again, nice and easy to cover up on the main body. We have the cloak here where the connection points are all around the outside, not on a kind of folded cloak that's sort of curling around him in the wind, which is really, really good. The weapon, despite being bent on my sprue, is connected on the tops rather than on the cutting edge, which is great. Same here, just on the top of that weapon, which is nice to see. We have connection points on the bow, just one connection point here on the bow, on the front of the bow, and there's actually two connection points here and here on the strings, which does make for slightly awkward cutting out. So just be really careful when you're smoothing that down with your knife, because that's one of those things where if you're too lax with your concentration, you can just end up snapping the thing and cutting straight into it, which is obviously a downer, and we don't want to do that. We have the quiver here where we have a connection point on the smooth lever, which is a bit of a shame, but the heads are connected at the neck, which is great, which means we should only really have a small little mold line to deal with over the top of them. So that's fantastic. Love to see that with the heads. Wonderful. The holster here with the gun, that's got a connection point on the leather. So again, not ideal, but it is what it is. And then on the arm here, we've got it on the inside of the flat part of the arm, which is great because, again, easy to hide, easy to assemble. So all in all, this sprue is fantastic for what you get. There's a lot of detail here, and it looks amazing. So it's laid out perfectly. I hope we continue this trend. So what we're going to do now is we're going to move over to our time lapse, and we shall be back in just a minute because we're going to figure out how long it takes to build a Kroot Warshaper. So with our Warshaper all built, he's looking pretty cool. If you'd like to see a size comparison with a Mark 6 Marine, we got you covered. There you go. As you can see, gigantic. He's looking great. So next up in the book is the Kroot Flesh Shaper. Now there's significantly less going on here, so we just have the half a page, because next up it just shows you some lovely what's it called? Product photography. So here we go. The Kroot Flesh Shaper doesn't have any options as far as I can tell. You just build him as is. So that's a little bit disappointing, given as there's a couple of options for the Warshaper, but it is what it is. So if you're going to have duplicate Flesh Shapers, they are going to be duplicate Flesh Shapers, as it were. or even triplicate, because you could take 3 if you want to. So there we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 components. So really simple model, which is pretty cool. So there we go. To build him, we will require a 32mm base and this sprue. So there you go. It's the small sprue. This one was a little bit bent, not quite as bad as the Warshaper, so this should be a little bit easier. There wasn't any kind of distortion on the components for the Warshaper, which is good. So, well, at least on the ones I used. Again, I didn't test the other one, so it is what it is. Just make sure you check yours out. Anyway, here we are. Here is our Flesh Shaper. And like I said, it's 8 components. Very simple little guy. So first things first, we have this this arm with the large cleaver or axe type thing. We have a connection point just up here on the top of the blade. It's got a flat area, so that's good, so it's not on the cutting edge. Love to see that. We have a connection point here on the elbow on his flesh, so that's a little bit... Oh, is that flesh or is that... Actually, I think that might be on the leather, so that's okay. It's a little bit easier to deal with there. The body, again, really nicely laid out. Connection points on the underside of the feet, and then we do have one just here on the shoulder, but it is what it is. Can't do anything about that. The downside of this one is that we do have the head in 2 halves rather than just in one component, which means there might be a line going up this area and down the front of it. We shall see when we put it together. I'm hoping it's okay because it looks like it's quite curved around and should just kind of slot together nicely, but that is something to watch out for. This weapon, we have a cutting edge, not cutting edge, a flat edge of the blade connection point again, but this one we definitely do have it on the rounded kind of bicep, tricep of the Kroot. So just make sure you're watching out for that. Make sure you smooth it down with the knife using the curvature of the miniature rather than just, you know, gouging it. We have connection points on this little kind of pouch here, on the kind of leather here, and on the leather just there. So do just watch out for this one because you don't want to flatten the leather into that little kind of knife just on that corner. And on this kind of back piece, we do have a connection point right there on the kind of outward facing part of the leather. This one's fine because it's along the edge, and this one is also along the edge, but this one is actually on the miniatures detail stuff, so that one won't be able to hide. You'll have to just be careful when you're smoothing that down one with your knife or your mold line remover. Then lastly, we have the large carbine gun type thing holstered, which is great. Love a holstered weapon. We have a connection point on the flat of the blade up the top here, and then it's in here on the leather just there, and this one is on top of what looks like a Kroot skull, which isn't morbid at all. It's a really efficient, elegant little sprue. Not very many components here, so we're just going to jump straight into the time lapse. This is, so far, they're looking good, really nicely laid out. I'm very impressed. Both of our characters now built. They're looking pretty cool. Nice. So next up in the instruction manual, to end all instruction manuals, we have the Kroot carnivores. So what we have here is we have a blue track, a green track, and then we have a pink track for some kind of variants for things. So there's, looks to me like there's 3 different types of long quill, which is the leader, and I know this because it says it right there. But you could build this as a unit of 20, I believe. So there's 3 options for 10s, although to be fair, most of these, so this is one variant, this is the other variant, this is another variant, but you have a third option for these 2 individuals here and here, to give you some slightly different stuff, which is pretty cool. So there's quite a lot going on here. You got the 2 sprues, of course, which are identical, and there is the beginning of the instructions. So don't miss this, because I did just for a second when I was looking at it. I was like, where does this miniature start? Is it just a body? And what number of body is that? But there we go. There we have our kind of 3 different options. There's the long quill, and then we have our Kroot Carnivore. So it comes over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pages. So it's a significant amount of this is all about the Kroot Carnivores. And as mentioned, you can see just there is a pile of different options there. Well, 2 different options per model, and then 3 on the long quill. We have a number of interchangeable parts, which are the shoulders by the looks of things. I think it's only the shoulders by the looks of things. We shall obviously find out soon enough. Interchangeable parts, yep, so more of the shoulders, stuff like that. So the shoulders are the interchangeable bits, but otherwise it's pretty much a muchness, as it were. Cool. So as previously mentioned, there are 2 sprues that are identical. So to build this, you will require one of these A4 sprues, these double-sided sprues, which I will snap in half so I can look at each half individually. And this is to build 10 of them, not 20, because the other ones are in the other identical sprue. And we will also require 10 28mm bases. There they are. Awesome. So, looking at the first half of this sprue then. So, the things that are immediately leaping out to me is that the bodies aren't quite as nicely attached to the sprue as they were on the 2 characters. Not all of them. Some of them are still pretty good, but we do have, for example, here on this one, we have a connection point on the side of the foot, which is possibly the most annoying place for it, other than right on the toe. And then we have one on the inner thigh as well, and then we have one here on the flesh. So that's just a horrible component there, number 51. It's just going to take you a little bit longer to put that one together to get that nice and smooth. 52, again, another connection point on the side of the foot, really annoying. But this one is right in the kind of the joint for the arm, which is okay. This one's better because we have the connection point on the underside of the foot, and then this one's just on the hip. But again, that's right in the flesh, so just be careful around that one. Side of the foot here, side of the foot there. We've got one right on the front of the knee, just there. Underside of the foot, underside of the foot, underside of the foot, underside of the foot. So the bodies aren't as nice as they are on the characters, which is a shame. The heads here, 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 all up here and here. That should be 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, 6 heads, and they're all attached at the neck, which is great. Love to see that. Weapons wise, we've got attachments on the shoulder. We've got it on the barrel just there, which I guess is fine because you can smooth that down reasonably easy. And we have it on the stock, but then we do have a connection point right there on the leather strap, which is, again, we don't like that because it's quite a spindly little component just there. This component, this weapon is attached again on the flesh of the shoulder. We got it on the bottom of the handle and on the barrel itself. Same again over here, same again over here. So this isn't looking as great as the 2 characters at initial look. We have quite a spindly little arm here, again with connection points just sat right there on the flesh. So you are going to have to spend a little bit of extra time and effort making sure you don't accidentally just gouge the model and take off a bunch of the detail or flatten out the muscles, because these guys are mostly naked, which is cool. That's their choice. We have some pretty cool little kind of a little T'au Empire symbol here on this shoulder pad, which is nice. I'm guessing that's some form of sergeant's shoulder pad, which is awesome. Long quill. We have a little kind of T'au communication set just there as well, little kind of aerial, which is awesome. And you get those on the fire warriors and stuff like that. We have the body of the little Kroot hound that sits on the long quill's base here and here. I think he just comes in 2 parts. He's reasonably well attached to the sprue on the underside of the foot here and here. Then we've got one on the back there and one on the top of the head, which is a bit of a nightmare, but it is a single head, so the head isn't in 2 halves, which is good. I like to see that. That's good. Awesome. Yeah, mixed bag this half of the sprue. Let's see if the other half of the sprue is any better. No, it is not. The bodies, again, we have the connection point on the ankle, and the reason why this is just really annoying is you haven't got a lot of room here to clean this down. If you're too kind of digging too hard or you don't clip close enough, you can end up like gouging into the model at the either toe or on the ankle joint, which is just annoying. It's also a rounded part of the body, so you have to smooth it with the curvature of the piece, which is just more kind of concentration than you need when there's 20 of them to build, and when it's so many of them have got that connection point on the ankle here, 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 here as well, here as well. It's just frustrating to see it. It's not great. Have it on the bottom of the foot, always on the bottom of the foot. That's fine. That's lovely. We have another pile of heads. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They're all connected at the neck, which is great. We have, I think, the carbine. This guy just here. This is connected at the barrel. Same on the shoulder. Same on the other side of the handle and on the stock. Various little kind of bits of leather and stuff, which are all pretty reasonably attached to the sprue, and kind of flat details like that one just there. But again, weapons, we have those kind of issues of it being on the flesh. Apart from this guy, we have the connection point on the flat of the blade, but then we do have it there on the underside, on the tricep. So yeah, I mean, this one isn't as great as the two characters. I mean, that, like I said, there's a lot to criticize there. It just means you're going to have to spend a little bit more time getting these guys smoothed down, which is a bit of a shame. Each one appears to be in sort of 1, 2, 3, 4, at least the first long quill here, 1, 2, 3, 4 components there on page 1, and then 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So I'd probably go for an average of 9 to 10 components per model, so probably more than the flesh shaper, to be fair, which is why it might just take a little bit longer because of the placement of these connection points just on the flesh, which is a little bit disappointing. So we'll find out how long it takes to build one, and we will be right back for the time lapse, of course. It's what we do. So with our 10 Kroot carnivores now built, as you can see, they're looking pretty cool. Very dynamic, very, very nice. I like them a lot. So we built 10 of them. There is another 10 to build, but for now, for the sake of time, we're not going to build all 20 of them because time is a valuable resource. So what we're going to do next is we're going to move on to the next kit, which is going to be the Kroot Rider. So in order to build this, we are going to require one of the 50mm round bases and this sprue. So let's have a look at those instructions, shall we? Just pop those out of the way just for the moment. So here we go. Here are our instructions. So we have it over the course of 1, 2, 3 pages. Now there's two variants here. There's one with a tangle cannon and one with a repeater cannon, I think, are the two options. Now, as far as I can tell, this is the tangle cannon because these guys can be equipped with a tangle bomb launcher. Again, I'm not entirely certain that is the correct name for it, but there you go. So it's very similar to that. So that's going to be the kind of blasty one for your anti-infantry, but the one that's got a little bit more rend and things like that. AP, sorry, Age of Sigmar fans. We have the repeater cannon, which I think is this one, which I think just looks a little bit cooler, so that's the one we're going to build. So we will only require page 1 and page 2. There it is, as you can see. If you are going to be doing this version with the tangle cannon, again, I think that's what it's called, then you would just build page 1 and then skip over to the green path just there. So seems pretty simple. There are the two options as mentioned. I don't think the Kroot Rider actually has any options other than a different head. and a couple of different arms depending on the gun itself. So it's nice and simple. The Kroot itself does have a different head depending on the weapon that you end up choosing, which is pretty interesting. I like that as another way to distinguish your Kroot. So let's pop these out of the way just for the moment and have a quick little look at that sprue. I think the instructions are going to fall over halfway through this. This will be amusing. So here it is. Here is the sprue. Now it's a pretty cool looking sprue. It's divided over the two, and they are half-size sprues. It's not full, kind of like the Kroot carnivores. This is a kind of character-sized sprue, more like the Kroot Warshaper 1 and 2, twice over basically. And as you can see, there is a ton of components on here, but it looks reasonably simple as a build. Most of the body is just in these 1-2 components, with this bit that kind of is I think the chest plate or the back plate. It looks like the back plate actually, looking at the instructions just out of shot. Again, I'm convinced they're going to fall over in just a moment. We have our legs and our arms and stuff. Now this leg here appears to be in 2 pieces, as does this one. So we're actually going to have to put the soft muscle, I think, maybe, or the other half of the jewelry on this side. You see it just here. Actually glue that in. So that is one thing to watch out for, because that is on the kind of 2D plane of the sprue. That's going to be forward facing. Now there is little kind of bobbles and stuff there to kind of divide up the jewelry. I don't know how well you can see that just there, which is good because it means that it'll go together, but it does mean there's a potential for a little line across some of the little jewelry things and stuff like that. So it is just worth bearing in mind. So we have connection points on all the kind of flat surfaces of the muscles, of course. That seems to be a theme, especially when most of your warriors are half naked, of course. It's kind of difficult to avoid that sort of thing. But we do have connection points around the outside of this piece of armor, which is nice and easy to deal with. This looks like a bit of damage, maybe, just there to that sprue. I'm not sure if something's missing there or not. It does look a little bit like something might be missing, but it is what it is. Nothing we can do about that. It looks like the kind of the tip of it has just come off, maybe again from just being pressed into the box a little bit hard. I can't really tell though. We'll find out when we come to build it, I'm sure. We have our weapons over here, and we have kind of more of the smaller details. This is kind of more of our larger kind of, well, there's the Kroot's body by the looks of things. Yeah, the Kroot rider. Yeah, both sides of his legs and the back legs of the Kroot. We've got very diddy little back legs, but quite chunky forearms. He skipped leg day, maybe, the Kroot. So this sprue just here seems fairly simple, and it is kind of the building blocks of the Kroot. So it looks like you build kind of most of this sprue first, and then here is where you'll make your choice for your weapon, rider, and face. So in many ways, it feels like it's a nicely laid out sprue that is kind of simple to kind of navigate your way through, which is really encouraging and really nice. We don't have anything that's too small by the looks of things, but we do have connection points on the front of the head, which is a little bit disappointing. And of course the heads are in half. Now we do have these kind of stitches along the kind of center of this side of this kind of closed mouth Kroot head, which will cover some of the gappage on the top of the head, but it might not along the kind of beak of the bill, whatever you would say that is, of the Kroot itself. You do just want to watch out for any potential gaps there, because that could be irritating. The gun, the repeater, is in mostly one piece, but we do have a little section here probably for a magazine, and we have a little bit of a section just here on the end of the gun. And that's one of those times just to watch out for that and make sure you don't forget to add this component, because that's easy to do, or rather easy to forget. And the other gun is a in-half barrel. There's another reason to possibly avoid it, just because you don't want to have that possible gap or very obvious join going across the top of the barrel. It is something that you have to watch out for when it's a soft and smooth kind of barrel shape and it's just two halves glued together. good thing to do there is to press it together and then smooth it with your knife at the same time, and that should mean that the top of it will smooth out and look nice and kind of joined rather than a possible line going all the way up your weapon. But it's a pretty cool sprue. I hope it builds the way I'm actually sort of picturing it in my head, in terms of like we start here and then move up to here to make choices. I think that would be really intelligent, and I love it when sprues are laid out that way because it just makes beautiful sense. One criticism that I've come across from the Kroot carnivores is that to a point it does that, and then suddenly components are on different halves of the sprue, which is a little bit irritating, especially if, like me, you tend to snap things like this in half like that to make it easier to maneuver and work with. So on that note, what we're going to do is we're going to jump in and start building these on our time lapse in just a second. So with our Kroot rider now all built, we've just got one last unit left to do. Now, I thought I was recording this, but it turns out it broke. So I've already snapped the sprue here. We've got the Kroot Rampagers left to go. It's this guy. So it comes in the box as one single sprue, as you've already seen. So it comes like that, but I've snapped it in half just because, it's easier to review the sprues that way. So I've done that. But to build them, you will require this one sprue that is now 2, and these 3 50mm bases. So we'll pop this to one side very quickly, and well, I've already done this, so I'm just repeating myself, but it means we can be a little bit more targeted in what I'm saying. When we look at the instruction manual, it builds 3 of them out. We have some options here. So we have the long quill, who has an option of 1 or 2 different looks, which has also got 1 or 2 different heads for the actual Kroot itself, just like with the Kroot rider that we've already had. So this guy just here. The rest of them, however, aren't having too many details. Oh, we also have 2 different heads for the long quill as well. But for the other 2, so here's the next one, I believe. Yes, so it starts down here on this page. The next one doesn't actually have any options as far as I can tell, just there. But then our third and final Kroot Rampager, we do actually have an option here for either a sword or that kind of hooky axe thing, which looks really cool. Component E49. I'm a big fan of that one. And then on the back, again, we don't have any more options there. So not a really super customizable kit, unlike the Kroot rider. But there's still some differences here, as you can see, played out on the back. Although look, there's a different angle there for that body, so maybe I'm just being a fool on this one. I can't really tell. I'm not sure how they've managed to achieve that, because the instructions don't really show you, or it might just be the angle of the photograph. Either way is what it is. So popping the instruction manual to the side for one more time. We have the sprues here, and there isn't a lot that's going to be new in terms of the criticism or analysis of these sprues. We've already talked about a fair amount of it across the rest of these sprues, and the feedback remains consistently similar. We have the Kroot riders heads here, here and here, for example, and they're all attached at the neck, which is fabulous. But then the actual Kroot Rampagers, just like with the rider, the head comes in 2 halves. So you will want to watch out for any kind of seam lines going up the middle of their beaks or across the tops of their heads. That is one possible point of failure with the build. Although some of them do have, like, for example, just with the Kroot Rampager, who had those stitches going over the top, this one here has a panel that goes across the top, so that does mitigate for that somewhat. So that's really nice. The bodies, though, have all got connection points on the flat of the muscles, and these guys are rearing up a little bit more, so you will just want to make sure that you're being careful when you're smoothing those down with your knife or mold line remover, so as not to have any kind of gouge marks or large gaps in the bodies. because, like I said, they are a little bit more dynamic than the Kroot Rider, so you will see the tummies a little bit more. The arms and things, similar feedback to the Kroot Rider. It's just got connection points on smooth muscles, so you will want to be really careful there. And the same thing applies to things like the Kroot Carnivore who's riding it. Their arms and stuff, you have connection points on shoulders and on kind of triceps and things like that. So just be very careful as you're putting these ones together, especially when looking at this sprue. We do have one point of failure here, in that we have this weapon, which is lovely. It's connected on the flat of the blade, the non-cutting edge, and the same thing for the axe head just here. However, I think for the first time in this kit, we have a connection point on an actual cutting edge of a component here on this like spear that goes on the back of one of our Kroot. Do watch out for that, but that does mean we lose 0.1 or something of a point. I never want to see this. I always dislike it, because it just means it's kind of difficult to put them together and not kind of cut that bit out, if you see what I mean. It's just unnecessary. We don't need to see it. So that's one sprue. And then we have our other sprue just here, and well, the feedback is the same here. It's the same types of components. It doesn't seem as kind of logically laid out as the Kroot was. We have basically, if you divide it just here, we have a body there and a body there, and then on this one similarly we have a body here, and then we have a mess of components there. But it does look a little bit like a sprue we might be going back and forth on a little bit. So that's because it was, you know, shipped as a 2 like that, so it makes sense in terms of the instructions, but it doesn't sometimes make as much sense when you separate these sprues, which is how they will come when they're sold separately in a single box. But we shall find out how the flow of the sprue is. But like I said, there's not too much here that's new when it comes to discussing these Kroot sprues. Connection points on bodies, connection points on muscles, connection points on outward facing knees on the Kroot riders on the back, but we don't have any connection points to the sprue via the cutting edge here or here, which is great. So this sprue, or even here as well, this sprue much better than the other one, because the other one loses that point for having a connection point on a cutting edge. Anyway, I'll stop banging on about it. Really nice set of stuff. There's loads of detail here. You can already see, kind of look at how much kind of detail is going on the torsos of the Kroot Rampage, which is really awesome. And I think these look fantastic. So we'll find out how long it takes to build one, and then we'll have built pretty much the entire set. We haven't built 10 of the carnivores because we don't need to right now, but future videos will be coming. So see you in just a sec on the time lapse. So it's a pretty cool box, am I right? I'm just really impressed with these. I think they're just lovely miniatures. Now I apologise if some of that footage was a little bit sort of colour graded strangely. I am using the brand new camera. Here it is. Where you can only see that little tiny bit. But I'm still getting used to it. So we shall, of course, be back to the normal 100% quality of Warhipster that you've come to expect. But have you expected whether I'm going to paint all of the miniatures? Let's find out. As some of you may know, I went on holiday last weekend for the first time in about 2 or 3 years, so I've been a bit slow on the draw. But what I did manage to get painted was the War Shaper and the Flesh Shaper, as you can see here, and they're both fantastic. I adore both of these miniatures. I think they look amazing, and it's another army where I get to flex my different types of kind of flesh painting skills, which is really exciting for me, especially with those carnivores coming up. You can just do all different kinds of things. We've got 2 very distinct, very different looking Kroot here, but I think they very much look united by some of those kind of things like the dark leather and stuff like that. So 2 videos coming out for these guys, and well, yeah, all I can do is apologize that I haven't got the whole thing done on time.
I'll do better.
I'm sad to say I have only done, as you've seen, the War Shaper and the Flesh Shaper. It's been a slow week. However, the rest of it's coming. Carnivores, Kroot Rider, and the Kroot Rampagers. I've got you. So ultimately, what do we think of the box? I've already waxed lyrical about it in the intro in terms of where I think its quality sits, and honestly, it's really, really high. This is a fantastic box. It's just, for most people who have T'au Empire armies, they won't have many of the models that are included in here. Some might have one throwaway unit of Kroot for objectives or whatever if you joined in sort of 8th or 9th edition. But for the longer serving folks out there, some of you might not have any Kroot models, or indeed have some of one of all of the old ones. That's cool, but I know a lot of people out there don't really have any Kroot, and this adds just a whole new facet to your T'au Empire collection. So on the one hand, that's really, really cool, because it's not just kind of redos of things like Crisis Battlesuits, of which, you know, that being a super popular kit would mean that most people would have that. And I think what we've seen so far in 10th edition is a lot of that going on. If you think of like the Dark Angels with the Deathwing Knights, a lot of people already had sort of 25, 30, possibly even 15 or less Deathwing Knights. So these are just more Terminators to replace your old Terminators, which is cool for some people. But for a lot of other people who've already got large collections of things, you just kind of pass on it. So from one perspective with the T'au, there is just a lot going on here that's really nice, and that adds and enriches your collection, or indeed is a great place to start. It's only like 500 points, right? So 1,500 points more and you're on the way to a 2,000 point army. I don't know if you'll use a combination of Kroot and T'au, maybe, but that's up to the really competitive people out there to tell you. That, of course, is not me. So contextually, I think that's the right way you say that, this is a really nice box. I think it fits just really great space in the T'au product offering, as it were. So it's a great box to have, so I'd recommend it on that basis. But when it came to actually building the models, let's start with the characters. Characters, despite my slightly bent sprues, and I don't know if that's going to be a consistent problem for everyone or if it's just for me. It will find out on a box-to-box basis. I was a little disappointed in that respect, but when it came to actually building them, really quick, really simple. They go together fantastic. They look super dynamic. I mean, look, here he is, old Mr. War Shaper. It's a really lovely model. It's not too outsized either. It's just really good. And I like it a lot. I'm a big fan of both of these characters. They're lovely little models. Really lovely little models. Building them was fantastic experience. Just got them done really quickly and, you know, loved it. The Carnivores, on the other hand, there was a lot of cleanup on them. And I expressed my frustrations with the connection points on the ankles, for example. That just slows things down. And it means it's quite easy to just kind of flatten off the muscles of a leg when it's connected that way. So when it came to those sprues, there's both super criticisms and also super praise. Because, for example, all the heads connected at the neck. Fantastic. Barely any connection points or any kind of sharp cutting edges of any blades. Fantastic. But then you have those connection points on those ankles, which is not fantastic. So the Carnivores do let the set down a little bit, but the Rampagers and the Kroot Rider, again, pretty nice to build. The Rampagers were a little bit fiddly at times. There's a couple of things where you attach grenades, where there is a little bit of a kind of nook in the plastic for them to sit, but it's not immediately obvious where they go, and some of them just kind of hang there. There's no kind of groove, like distinct groove for them to go, and I think that can be a little bit bewildering at times. At least it was for me. There's a little bit of that going on with the Kroot Carnivores as well, some of that kind of hanging gear, but you don't have to put that on. It's kind of optional. At no point did I feel like if I left off a pouch or something, it would take away from the model, that there would be like a missing peg, for example. At no point does that ever happen in the box. So in that respect, it's very cool. You can go as detailed or as undetailed as you like. And on the rampages, I did end up leaving off some of the packs. Got a little bit of confidence about me when I was building halfway through, so I decided, do you know what, I just don't need to add this component, and it looks fine the way it is. So all in all, it's just a really nice box. I'm super excited for this one, and I've got to give it Land Raider scale here. It's not quite being replaced by Hammerhead scale, because, you know, the Hammerhead's cool. I mean, it's really good as well in this book. It's really good in this book, as is the Skyray gunship. Oh boy, they're very good in this book. Whilst the rating scale is not replaced by a T'au vehicle, Land Raider scale, honestly, 9 out of 10. 9 out of 10 on the Land Raider scale for the T'au Empire book and box. I think this is how 40k has to go. Period. To me, this feels like the beginning of the edition. I was whelmed at best by all 5 of the previous codexes: Space Marines, Tyranids, Admech, Necrons, Dark Angels. I've not been particularly revved up or enthused by them, but this one is really, really exciting. And if we're going to see this kind of detail and edge, I think is probably the right word I'm looking for, to these factions, as well as this design methodology for miniatures going forward, we're in for a treat this edition. Really genuinely optimistic because of this book and this box. I don't have a T'au army yet. I have some bits, as you know. It's on my list of goals for the year to get them done, and well, I'm excited to do so. I feel like I can have a broad range of things in my army collection, and I'll still stand up against most foes. So I'm very, very excited for the future of the T'au, and this box has made me very, very excited for the future of 40k. And I didn't know if that was going to be possible in this edition, but T'au Empire has proved me wrong. So, if anything, some people might be upset about some of the changes, and like I've said before, I get it. I really do. But there is a hell of a lot more to love in this box and this book than there is to be upset about. Genuinely. I'm really excited. So this is gold standard. Absolutely. I'm putting a yardstick down now. T'au Empire. Keep giving the boxes like this, because it's really good. Also, how cool is that folio for all the stuff? It's really nice, isn't it? Thank you so much for watching. This has been a really, really fun experience for me, and the experience will continue, because after this I will be painting the Kroot Rider and the Kroot Rampages and the Carnivores. There's all going to be kinds of painting videos coming, trust me. I'm too excited not to do it, you see. So I'll see you all very soon for another one. Thank you so much for watching. You've been the best audience ever, as always. Like and subscribe, and comment below. See you in a bit. If you enjoyed this video, you love the channel, and you'd like to support me further, you absolutely can do so by heading to patreon.com/Warhipster, just like all of these wonderful, amazing people have done. And alternatively, you could become a YouTube channel member by clicking on the join button below, exactly like these fabulous folks have done, scrolling up on the screen before you. There are so many of you out there that it really takes my breath away, and I cannot thank you enough for everything you do, as without you I wouldn't be able to keep making these Contrast Plus videos. And if you really like this video and you want to send me a little thanks, just click on the thanks button just below this video. Don't forget to share it, like it, comment on it, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and to make sure you stay up to date, don't forget to click the bell icon. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all very soon in the next one. Happy wargaming.